Welcome to Investors Insights, episode 189. Today we'll be discussing the GDP report that came out on Friday, as well as the impact that the election is having on the markets. For our video watchers, we invite you to try listening to this same information on our podcast. Many people are discovering they like listening on that as well. So guys, let's get started.
You're listening to Investors Insights with Greg Powell and the Portfolio Strategy team from Five Plan Partners.
Happy Halloween to all of our viewers. First, and speaking of Halloween, Trey, talk about how the market or the election spooked the market on Friday.
Definitely. So, like you said, GDP was the big data that came out Friday. We assumed that would be the biggest news of the day, and the markets reacted positively to the good number. You can see in the chart that we're going to pull up here that the S&P opened up strong and was held it throughout the middle of the day. Then around 1 o'clock, when the FBI news started to circulate, the markets immediately fell off. So we had the GDP number for the largest economy in the world come out, and it was overshadowed by an FBI investigation in the middle of the day. We lost all our momentum. The market went from up to down, went from around 2140, and it closed the S&P around 2126. That shows that even with just 8 days left, this election keeps controlling the market, and just cannot wait for those 8 days to be behind us. Yeah, and we can actually look at earnings and GDP numbers instead of just election news.
Yeah, it really is having an impact. And so, last week, the chart of the week this week is GDP. GDP came in at 2.9%. Obviously, that's much better than the 1% growth we had at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
And so that's really good. It's best growth in 2 years. So, Ashley, talk about that in depth. Great report.
No, it is. In addition to the fact that it's up from a quantitative measure, what we loved about it is it's so much more balanced than it's been the last 2 or 3 years. And what we mean by that in the GDP numbers, you're looking at consumer, you're looking at government spending and corporate spending. The consumer, number one, has really been carrying us really the last couple of years. But what we were excited to see is now some of the corporate numbers were up about 5.4% on expenditures like warehouses and plants and factories, which are long-term commitments. So that's a very, very good number to see. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, I know this is going to sound counterintuitive, but capital equipment expenditures dropped 2.7%. They're still down, but that is far the best that it's been in the last several quarters. And if you extract the impact, probably the capital gains, uncertainty of the election, if you took that out, it'd probably be even or back to positive. Right. So what we're seeing going into the end of this year and into next year is a GDP that's getting far more balanced and not just depending on the consumer. And we've needed that for a long time.
Bobby brought up a good point this morning, though. Didn't you see there was some sort of anomaly with soybeans in the GDP number?
Mm-hmm. Soybeans picked up, and that's really interesting in that. The thought is this a one-off with the inventories and the exports being up because of the soybeans? And the problem was that South America had a bad crop. And so our soybean exports really picked up, unusually picked up. And so we'll see if that's a kind of a one-off situation. Yeah,
we'll see how that number smooths out.
Yeah, already at 2.9 or at 1.9. It's kind of with it being so small, 1% sounds small, but it could be a huge impact.
Yeah. And it's been small on the government spending. I failed to mention that the government spending is part of that component. To a percentage of GDP is the lowest it's been since 1950. So that's good for the deficit, but it doesn't help on the GDP. So if that picks up any at all after the election, we should be looking better there too.
Yeah, and that better GDP number is important because the Fed's looking at that. Obviously, this Friday we've got a jobs number, and so good GDP, higher inflation, jobs number on Friday. Tomorrow. Yeah, Fed meeting tomorrow. So a lot going on this week. So if you have any questions, please let us know. We love hearing from you. Happy Halloween. Thanks.